Thanks for joining. So today we are discussing about lesson number 9. So let's check the syllabus. We have been discussing about the overall infrastructure design, web-specific stack error and response, SSL endpoint, double op and various, all the conversation on the design in terms of structure and the difference between on-cloud and prem, end-to-end encryption, API, CDN, and finally, let's talk about VPN because it's a hot topic. So VPN attacks went up 2000%. That is a bit of marketing, but because I don't know how they could rate that, but it's a big issue because if you check the top 30 of a flow in 2020, you immediately spot how a lot is about perimeter. Yeah, perimeter security is dead, but anyway, mostly is about accessing to external perimeter gateways, VPN, and exploiting a load balancer, exposing the MZ. So as you see, I'm teaching about something that is quite relevant and spot on for now. So VPN with working from home became a big problem, but we need to step back on the real reason why so many bugs are there. So investment in on-prem are having generally a 5 years, 3 years life cycle, depends on your way of seeing your roadmap. But actually, most of these devices are devices that simply are containing a cluster of SSL crypto cards and are capable to perform various actions considering proxy, a layer 7. They care about application routing, they care about routing itself. Some are capable even to get dynamic routing, and so you need to think about this device as the sum up of all those layers with a really beefed up hardware spec, because managing SSL tunnel means SSL crypto card. That means having also the right system to manage the network throughput. They are at the perimeter. They are at risk also of DDoS. Performance is a big topic. And so this uh, design consideration gave this box a lot of responsibility, but also a strong cost in terms of having the right specs. If now you check an example of a recent, I just took one as a case study, Sonic Wall. Customer are urged to upgrade firmware immediately on those appliances. Now the problem is some of these appliances are end of life. So at the time that you have a cryptographic problem in VPN, the first problem is the firmware of those crypto cards. So as you see, the topics are not just about VPN as technologies, VPN also as hardware. And if you see what is the statement there, is that there is not much that can be done. And the reason is that if it's not supported even by the crypto card maker, that firmware can't be updated by the vendor itself. So sometimes there is a lot of finger pointing, blaming game across vendors, but one is obviously selling something of somebody else. And so also for them, end of life is not a good business. But they do have some kind of problem of maintaining software that is so bound to an hardware spec. So you could think that everything in VPN is just a problem if it's on-prem. It's not actually true. You have an added complexity in terms of VPN because you could have VPN established through private link, like an express route. You could have a link with a VPN that are anyway landing passing through a VPC. You could have VPC peering and a mix of VPC peering and VPN. All this complexity are all lateral move path that an attacker can use. So you need to think uh, on the big picture. When you are having an infrastructure and you are analyzing infrastructure, you need to think on how much the attack surface is also device relevant and not just encryption configuration relevant. When I started, I remember how many scan trying to poke the IPsec phase one. I mean, the attack surface in VPN was always complex in a way that or you were trying to play on the negotiation or on the cryptographic part or on the hardware part or on the software part running on top. At the time that the evolution went into layer 7, more and more proxy stuff is down there. And so most of these VPN gateway are anyway serving as a web server themselves. And they are introducing all those kind of problems that you can have there. It's also true that is juicy because from there you could move laterally across the environment, and most of these VPN, most of these devices are obviously having also management interfaces. So think on all layers and the complexity of that, and think which kind of role can play. A 0 day on a VPN that is established on cloud is actually not changing the picture because you'll have a rush of people trying to exploit it, and the availability of that could be distributed. Sometimes also the fact that you are trying to to fix the DDoS part and the portion means CDN, means a lot of other cost on top. So sometimes you can find people that also saved a bit in terms of how protect that solution. VPN is divided by a VPN that can be IPsec, you can have an SSL, and so client side the analysis is strictly related to which type of VPN you are having. And so is an always on VPN, is it does tunnel having an agent like for the SSL, tunneling all port through that, or is actually having some other sort of VPN. WireGuard is starting to be more mature, so I'm expecting in the market to come more VPN solution, and actually WireGuard support cha-cha-cha 20, so is way stronger. Somebody blame the maturity of a project, but is built in straight into the kernel and it's quite light. So we will find all these vulnerabilities to move and change time to time based also on the technology. But as infrastructure, you need to define the VPN endpoint is the gateway. In that gateway, you want to have more security control than you can, and so it is a proxy too. That proxy give you the capabilities to inspect SSL traffic or not. Those are the kind of consideration that you need to have. But when you are analyzing the security of entire infrastructure, the component of a client is important. So the endpoint security is a big topic because an administrator can perform action through that. And so obviously hijack a VPN tunnel, get credential, establish connectivity is the foothold. The Sonic Wall article that I showed you before, that kind of vulnerability is exploited for ransomware. So you need to really consider how difficult is the picture there. You get that, you get a lot of potential. So some of the vulnerability, the reason why is 2000% higher is that a lot of the old endpoint are there too. And so if there was the hardware refresh conversation that I had about the 5 years and all investment are in cloud and you are keeping the investment on on-prem a step behind, you could expect this kind of problem. And as you see, it's not just a matter of patching software, it can be patching hardware too. So you need to see that ahead you have choices that are economical, but the economical choice impact also the security one. So if you try to have a different speed because now everything is cloud first, and you keep those gateway a step behind in terms of investment, you are going to actually open the door of your company. So it's the reason why even if everybody say VPN is out of fashion, all SD-WAN solution that they are proposing you are most of the time using VPN connectivity. They will manage VPN as well. And you'll have a problem that the VPN management is changing because it will be done within the fabric, the SD-WAN fabric, I mean. And so you need uh, to take care of how you define your investment. On-prem is strictly perimeter on that space, and you need to keep the investment even if all vendors tell you that is not anymore a matter of perimeter. If you have an on-prem, you still have a lot of gateway going through that. And so keep in mind, I hope it's good food for thought, but I wanted to dedicate a lesson on that for this reason. And the other one is to stress on how often client, endpoint, administrator get exploited because split tunnel is actually enabled. So split tunnel means that the laptop, the endpoint is anyway capable to keep two completely different routing table and keep on the opportunity to go through the virtual interface of the VPN to the company or actually through the local breakout of the connectivity. That is a big issue because you are actually using your endpoint to bridge two networks. And it's ridiculous the fact that you find this type of exploitation to happen within your browser because you could have two tabs, one pointing internally and one externally, and one is both are served by different DNS and completely different routing. You need to pay attention to this bridging. And at the time that you bridge and you bridge into a browser, session hijacking, cross-site refugery are unbelievably powerful. So you don't need a lot to exploit. You need the right things. So SSL VPN are anyway using a browser. And so you need to think that is a main component of a VPN picture, the browser too. And so an exploitation that is happening at a browser, it will use your VPN. Is the reason why there are a lot of projects in terms of SASE access, where there is also integration of a remote browser instance. Remote browser isolation is called it in technical terms, but it is the fact that your browser connect to another remote resource because like that your DOM and so your local can't be exploited. But the complexity of these attacks are uh, is not so high. Can you see 9.8, 10? It's a really easy. Just find something on the perimeter and you are straight in. ransomware love this stuff. We read how many article about the pulse problem. So even if somebody is doing marketing and say VPN is all time, it's not. You'll always have it, and so don't forget that. You'll always have it because at the end, all cloud service provider are going to use VPN all the time long. So keep in mind that. Next lesson, we talk about another historical topic, MPLS. But I will discuss also MPLS on how they are changing with SD1, and so routed through the one. So I hope you'll enjoy the content. Subscribe so you'll get notified when new content is released. And thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate the time you spent to listen. Thanks for that. Cheers. Bye bye.